Welcome to The Human Element, presented by Whisk. I'm your host, Barb Biden, and in each episode, I sit down with CHROs and senior HR leaders to explore how AI, innovation, and human insight are reshaping the future of HR. We'll explore how technology is reshaping leadership, strategy, and the role of HR by sharing candid stories, practical ideas, and strategic perspectives to help you shape the future. The Human Element is brought to you by Whisk, the leader in agentic HR and creator of Harper, the world's first AI HR generalist. Learn how Harper can resolve up to 80% of routine HR tasks autonomously. Learn more about Whisk at whisk.com. Welcome to The Human Element, presented by Whisk, where we explore how AI and human insight are reshaping leadership and the future of HR. Our guest today is Diane Sanford. Diane is the Chief People Officer at Unleashed Brands, a Dallas-based franchising platform that helps scale family and kid-focused experiential brands like Urban Air, Snapology, and The Little Gym. Diane brings more than 25 years of HR leadership experience focused on engagement, DEI, and operational excellence in high-growth environments. I am so excited to have you here to chat today, Diane. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Let's hop right in. I know we had chatted that it really all starts with setting the right culture. And when it comes to AI, the ability to encourage experimentation within your team, it really all comes down to setting that right tone with your culture. What are you doing to set the right tone with your workforce to build the culture that's going to be willing to adopt and experiment with AI?
That's a great question and on top of everybody's mind right now. We've had so many conversations as a leadership team about the power that AI has, the ability it has to unlock extra time. And so we've started to lay the foundation and are really going to lean in early Q1 with a framework for a program. But what we've talked about is just having a transparent dialogue with your team about these are the tools that are out there, and we want you to understand how to use them so that you can be the most productive possible. So for us, it isn't about we don't want you to use it or we're afraid that we're going to be paying you to leverage AI and not do the work. For us, it's more we recognize that we have smart professional folks in jobs that are very busy. So what we are putting together right now is a program that puts a framework around AI, and we're really leaning into talking to people about how to unlock, how it can help them be more productive. So removing some of the mystery around it. I know a lot of people feel like using it is cheating, or by using it, they'll be replaced. And we don't view it that way. In my perspective, from my perspective, the only way AI is going to circumvent a human in most jobs is people will be replaced by other people who really know how to use it and get the most out of it. So we want to give our folks a head start and help them leverage it in all the ways because it can really do a lot of really cool things, personally and professionally.
Totally. It sounds like it really all boils down to that foundation of trust, right? That it's mitigating team members' concern around if I show that my job can be done fast with AI, what does that mean for me? And making sure that they understand the company's point of view is that we want you to embrace AI. We want your job to be easier in the ways that it can be easier, and that there's plenty of other work for our human team members to be doing once we can get to that place. So I think it's such a great way to look at it.
1,000%. And we are even slicing it into two different formats. So leveraging AI like ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude or Gemini or all those great tools. But we're also asking people to look at their jobs and identify the processes that are repetitive, questions that they get asked all the time. And we're challenging them to volunteer, hey, what can be automated? And we even hired a person on the team this year who is a work automation specialist because we want to help eliminate all the redundancy that's out there so people can spend their time doing the type of work in their job that gives them the most joy, that is the most fun, and is more strategic than moving this widget over here to this side of the board all day long.
Yeah, you said something interesting a few minutes ago, too, that it's not employees are concerned about their roles being replaced by AI, but that the only thing that you really see as a potential threat would be a team member not embracing AI enough to become fluent. That
Yes.
would be the thing that would put you more at risk. It's not that you've automated the mundane parts of your job using AI tools, it's that you are resistant to using them and actually get behind in your understanding of what AI can do for your job.
Yes, I think we are in the equivalent of a new industrial age. And so change is constant and we need to embrace it. We need to figure out how to incorporate it into our work lives and home lives too. It helps a lot there. And to help us move farther faster. And I think if we zoom out and look at the macro, and what's going on with companies and job design. Companies are not exponentially adding bodies to get work done, and they're expecting more out of the people that they have. AI is a great way to be able to unlock extra productivity and extra time in your day. So, from a personal perspective, if it can help me do more things better or more quickly, and I can leave at the end of the day when I want to get to the other things that are important in my life, why wouldn't I learn how to use it?
I'm going to keep us on the topic of culture a little bit because you are working in an organization that supports multiple brands. How are you working to ensure a consistent and very values driven culture across multiple franchise and brand environment model, especially, right, as we're talking about AI and automation really impacting and changing how teams are working?
I am fortunate in that Unleashed Brands itself is a purpose driven organization, and each of the brands has its own unique value driven purpose that it unlocks. So that make the brands unique, that the employees that support those brands and the franchisees that run them resonates with. So my job is from a leadership perspective, making sure our leaders are role modeling the values that we have at the Unleashed Brands level, which naturally cascade into role modeling the behaviors that support our franchisees. And when you're talking about culture, to me, there are really two components. Culture is leader led. And so if you have words written down that you call values or leadership principles, those words need to match the behaviors your leaders are willing to role model. It's where you have gaps in what you say and what you do that creates issues. And so my job as the head of people and people systems is to make sure our systems support the things that we say are important from a how we get work done, and that we are clear in our messaging with our employees around what's happening with the big picture. So I have this saying and I call it the 3 C's. So employees really want credible leaders. They want communication around the things that are important to them so they know where they fit and why their work is important. And then they want connection. So they want to be connected to something bigger than themselves. And we've got the Unleash Brands Foundation, which is very purpose driven in and of itself and supports kids' charities. And then we also have the larger purpose of Unleash Brands, which is to unlock all the things that make kids special and help them learn, play, and grow. So as I connect what we do and the systems that support the what to those pillars, then it gives all of us a framework to operate within. So Being in a purpose-driven organization helps that along a little bit, but it really is about clarity and communication, making sure your leaders are role modeling the behaviors that you say are important, and that you hold people accountable to living up to those behaviors.
Completely, right? Like leaders bringing the how to life, right, within the organization, right? The how you behave and the demonstrating the behaviors that are valued and how they lead. And it sounds like you are doing a great job of weaving those values and the purpose of the organization through all that you're laying in terms of foundations within the people team, which is you take the values right off the wall or off the website and bring them to life.
You talk to a lot of people, and it's a little bit of art and science, right? So it's important to us to do that because it shapes the work experience that our folks have. And I've always said, whoever your end user is, whether you call them a customer or a guest, their experience with your brand will never be better than the one you create for your team members. And so that's the lens through which I put what I do.
Love that. I'm going to shift us a little bit into the practical land of AI. I know you talked about even just personally, right? Using AI on a personal front and that you're embracing some AI tools within your team and within the company. What are so far some of the most practical ways that you've seen AI streamline or enhance the employee lifecycle or anything really that your team is delivering?
Sure. So I'll start with the front end of the employee life cycle with the recruiting process. We are a relatively young company. We have a lot of brands that have been around for a long time, but bringing everybody together we're only 4 years old. So a lot of our processes and systems are still need to be refined. And we've combined automating a few processes like opening a job requisition. That used to be a lot of drive-by conversations, several emails. We automated that process with a form, a job form, essentially, that delivered via email that asks all the questions that are important to us. What's the P&L impact? What's the job? Where would you go find this type of person if you have a niche role? And then that automation takes out about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours worth of work from my team. And we get the answers we need before we need them, which makes the intake meeting go faster and we can get the job post up and running so much quicker. We've taken probably 2 or 3 days out of the process just doing that. The other part of it is, and I'm sure several of my colleagues across many industries are doing this, you can use AI. You should always validate it, but you can use AI to help benchmark salary jobs across a lot of different demographics, collect a lot of data and consolidate it very quickly. We've used it to help augment some of our job descriptions just by loading in what we have and saying, our hiring manager is looking for this. What's missing? What else should we consider? And then we talk about it. And we found a couple of things that were an oops, maybe from a automation AI perspective, but it's helped us move faster. We run very lean. Like I said before, we don't just add people to add people. And so it's made us so much more efficient. So that very beginning of the employee life cycle, we've automated surveys that AI has helped us build, hire, 60-day check-in, and it's helped us stay connected to our new hires so that we can get in front of any issues that might be bubbling up. This really helped in that first 90-day component of hiring and bringing people on board a tremendous amount.
Totally. It's almost so much time previously was consumed in the sort of preparatory work in the recruiting process or preparing survey content or organizing, scheduling of surveys and those sorts of things
Yes.
that it eats up all of your time. And being able to actually use that time to be the recipient of the outputs of those processes and leveraging that information in a valuable way. Almost there are days where it makes me want to go back to doing like a recruiter role at the ground level to be able to do all of the things that I never had time to do when I was in that role, because we were doing all the heavy lifting on the parts that didn't add value and we're itching to get to these other things. So I'm excited for our teams in terms of what it's going to let them do. And I'm actually even excited for what that's going to mean the next generation of HR leaders, right? Like the next generation of us will look like if they are spending more of their time doing high value tasks so much earlier. That's, I think, pretty cool as well.
Right. I think it will make us as a profession so much more effective, and we can spend the time working the business with our colleagues versus working a process.
100%. So as AI is getting more integrated into our HR processes, business processes, how do you help leaders strike the right balance between, let's say, system-driven insights or data-driven insights and human judgment, especially when it comes to decisions like our teams make that impact people and impact culture?
I think the conversation before implementation. So there's a process the way work unfolds, right? However you gather the data or information, whether that's through an accelerated way of partnering with AI to get you more information to consider, it's still the output from AI or any beginning process is still information you have to talk about and decide how to implement. So the judgment piece on what to do with that information is still critically and should be a human stop point. So we make sure that before we implement anything, we consider data from anything we got from AI, other data points around the business, and we use all of it to make the best decision possible. So we don't rely just on information we get from AI or somebody's gut or instinct or feeling. We take all of it. What's in our dashboard from a metrics perspective? What can we learn from canvassing the wide world of information with AI? And then what do we know about the business? And as business leaders, then it comes down to your expertise and your ability to take all of that and implement it so that it benefits the business. So that human component right there before you flip the switch, I think is a critical step.
Totally. Like the AI only has the richness of context that we give it. And I think that's the thing that we want our teams to remember is that as humans, we have a richness of context, right? Because of what we see, hear, feel by being immersed in the business that is just richer than would be easy to give to AI in any real way, at least right now, for sure. And so we need our teams to still be in a place where they're leveraging their judgment and leveraging that richness of context that they bring to the table that AI doesn't, to take responses out of AI and ensure that they fit the context of our organizations in the most right way.
There is a depth to the human element that isn't there in AI unless you tell it to go there. And so having the conversation about what are the unintended consequences of whatever that decision is, you have to prompt AI to do that. It won't have all the information you have. And so I think that's the biggest risk in just leaning into that element alone.
Absolutely. And so as we talk about really getting our organizations ready for this next industrial revolution, from whether that's your HR team, whether that's frontline leaders within the business, and wanting them to embrace AI responsibly, what sort of skills are you thinking about building? How are you thinking about guardrails? And what other parameters do you see as really absolutely necessary for successful adoption?
We started with, in our organization, a discussion about this very topic at the executive level. So, from when you're talking about boundaries or giving organizational direction, the executive level needs to be aligned and using a common language around what's okay and what's not. So, we had a lot of people, and one of the things that we said no to were AI note takers in our meetings with each other, with vendors, because you never know when a conversation in a meeting is going to go into something that might be proprietary. So we said no to AI note takers, and we're looking for a solution internally. Maybe we partner with Copilot because it's already embedded into Microsoft, and we leverage that as an organization. So before we let people start using things, we evaluate it as a business and say, what could they do with it to help them, and what are the risks organizationally?
And balancing those things out, right? And nothing is without any risk really
Right.
at all, but understanding where the benefits play in and where your boundaries are as a company. And I think that's going to vary by company, right? Different companies will make different
Right.
decisions around those things, but it's about the clarity then after you align as an executive team. It's giving your team members clarity over what you will and won't do as a business, what you are okay with and not okay with, and like creating
Right.
the parameters within which experimentation, curiosity, learning, and all of that can happen.
And you asked about skills, and those are the skills that we're trying to encourage, or the innate sort of the characteristics that we're trying to encourage. Hey, if you have a question about something or you see a tool that could be beneficial, be curious about it. Be thoughtful. Curious is actually one of our core values. And so we talk about if there's a better way to do what we're doing, be curious about it and bring that back so that we can integrate it across all the platforms. The other part of it that I think is really important is just to explain the why. You can't just, I think it's a lot of people stop at just creating a framework or a set of conditions or a process they want their people to follow. We really believe in explaining the why. Hey, here's why we think this is the best choice for us. And then people can understand. They may not agree with it, but they understand our thinking, and we get alignment a lot faster.
Yeah, and they'll make better choices around adjacent activities too. If they
Right.
understand your why around a particular thing, when similar issues come up or decisions come up, they can use that explanation of why as a framework for making their own good decisions on other things that are adjacent, I think. So the why, I'm a big
Thousand
fan of the
percent.
why as well.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So let's shift gears into a section that is a bit of a lightning round. So quick hit answers, just a fun little way to wrap up here. What do you think, Diane, is one misconception that HR leaders have about AI adoption?
I think the biggest misconception is that it can't be applied to what we do. So many colleagues will say, it can't help you in employee relations. It can't help you through the recruiting process because I have to talk to people. You still can do those things. It can help you be more efficient. So I think it's that it doesn't apply.
Yeah, like almost break it down a little bit further than that. And it's like, what can it apply to? And then what parts are uniquely human? And answer that question. And I think you'll understand better where you can leverage it and then where the humans still need to come into play. What is one metric that you would rely on most to judge an AI pilot's success?
Engagement with the tool throughout the test. Everything starts off well, but just level of engagement throughout the pilot, and then feedback. That's really two things. You asked me for one, but I would say
No, it's good.
level of engagement with the tool to get the value of understanding the pilot.
Are they using it and not just at the beginning, but are they still using it throughout and at the end? And have they actually made it part of their workflow? And are they using it on an ongoing basis? That's a
Has
really
it
good one.
become integrated into how they do what they do, or is it a set aside thing?
Agreed. Agreed. So, this is a question that we have used with a lot of guests. Keep one and drop the rest. If you had to choose between complete platform consolidation or best of breed AI, which would you choose and why?
I would choose best of breed. I think for me, I've tried all the platform, not all of them, but I've tried a handful of them, and they are different. So you have to find the one that works best for you versus something that's integrated everywhere. I'd rather be able to pick and choose.
Totally. And the ability to integrate point solutions is so much different now and better and easier than it was even 5 years ago, that it puts us in a better position, I think, to select best of breed and really make sure we've got the tools that are doing the things that we want them to do. So I'm going to do my best, Diane, to give a couple of takeaways. I think that when listeners probably have a host of their own, but some things that really stuck out for me is we started off and you had said something about the biggest risk that we as just humans in the workplace should see with respect to AI in our jobs would be coming from not embracing AI and not becoming AI fluent, right? That I think would be the thing that creates risk. And so really get in there and embrace it was something that really resonated with me. And then as employers, making it safe for team members to do that. So that was a big one. I loved also your 3 C's, credible leaders, communication about what's important to the team member, and then connection. So you talked about connection to something that is bigger than themselves, whether for you that's through your foundation, but also the company's purpose, whether that's even the goals of the company and team members feeling connected to those. So I loved the 3 C's. And then when we talked about AI readiness, you walked through 3 specific things. In my takeaway anyways, was AI readiness through executive alignment as a starting point, and then common language, and then clarity. So being clear about how you are or aren't going to use it. When you talked us through the example of AI note takers, right? It's like you got clear on it as an executive team and then provided that clarity along with a why to your team members, which I think is super, super powerful. So I like to make sure that we give our guests the final word before we wrap up, and just a small piece of advice that you would have for HR leaders who are maybe just at the beginning of their AI journey.
Stay curious and stay open-minded. It's so easy to get locked into what you believe or a belief based on just your experience. Stay curious and continue to learn, and that will serve you well across all platforms.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and talk to me, Diane. This was very fun, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on The Human Element, presented by Whisk. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow The Human Element wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Barb Biden. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.